What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another edition of DBC. It's Dangle Bet Celly here live at FTN. Chris Meaney and Eric Young here with you at the Eric Young, at Chris Meaney. By now, you guys are well aware of this show. Hopefully, if you're just stumbling across it, do us a solid. Smash the like button. You have any comments, any questions, you can leave them here live in the show chat, and we will get to them throughout the show. Always circling back on these videos as well in case you do have any questions. You're listening on iTunes and Spotify. We do appreciate you guys as well. Rate, review, subscribe. Head on over to our YouTube page. Smash that like button. Again, any questions, you can hit us up. We don't have too many more episodes left. We probably will regroup after the conference finals. Maybe we can get together next week, but certainly before the Stanley Cup finals to tee up the finals and maybe another time throughout the finals. And maybe there'll be one or two more shows at the end of the season where we take a look at free agency and the NHL draft and what's to come. But we are winding down. It is the Final Four in the NHL. And EY, we were just chatting before. We were patting ourselves on the back here a little bit.
It was a bit of a victory lap.
We just like to do our victory laps, like not on the camera. We don't want to come across as like smug assholes, but it's a pretty much perfect Final Four for us and this show.
Yeah, it's I was going back through my bets on FanDuel, and I know there's better apps, but I told you, and anyone that doesn't know, I live in Tennessee, and there's only a few for me to choose from. So FanDuel seems to be the best one for hockey. That's the one I used this year. I'm making it a show tradition. I think this started on 4 stacked lines where I would drink moderately heavy and then make predictions of who's going to win the Stanley Cup. And I've been pretty close several times, but I can tell you this year that I will be right no matter what happens. I did obviously bet on the Preds and the Maple Leafs, only small amounts because that's what I want to happen. I want to put that out in the universe. But the 4 teams that I bet on this year are the New York Rangers, the Florida Panthers, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Dallas Stars. So no matter what happens, I'm winning a nice little chunk here, no matter what happens.
That's pretty good.
The best odds is Florida. I got them at plus 2,400. So that'll be nice.
That is really nice. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. I mean, you're set up beautifully. I don't have anything happening with the Oilers, but we have the Dallas Stars. That was a prediction on the show and over at FTN Fantasy before the season started. I think we have them roughly 18-1, and then another one with the Florida Panthers roughly 18-1, and then an Igor Shesterkin and Conn Smythe at 21-1, but still only halfway there, so we won't get ahead of ourselves here just yet. But as of today, the Panthers are plus 150 to win the Stanley Cup at DraftKings. Dallas plus 260. That would be the ideal matchup, even being in Canada. I would like to see a Canadian team and the Oilers. I would like to see that, honestly, happen for Edmonton in the city, but I think the ideal Stanley Cup final for me would be the Dallas Stars and the Florida Panthers. So we'll see. It is an opportunity to jump on the Rangers if you are feeling them. They're 7-1 at the moment after being down 1-0. Let's start there. We'll start with the crew. Adam Szymanski, morning fam, welcome in. Super sharp dude, always active in the FTN Discord channel. Diehard MMA podcast, also super sharp. Morning psychos. Let's go Stars and Panthers. See, as a community, we're on Dallas and Florida. I mean, I was taking a look at the Dangle Bet Celly brackets, and I went 11 for 12, and I'm still not in first because everyone's so sharp, and a lot of people have Dallas and Florida and the Rangers in there. Daily handle with Jordan Allen. Good morning, Means, EY, and everyone in the playoffs. Oh, baby, let's go. How about those Mavericks? Daily handle. Okay, so last night, before we get into tonight, takeaways from the 3-0 defeat by the Florida Panthers heading into, well, they went into MSG and they took care of the Rangers in game 1. So what did you take away from that game?
I'm pretty much done being surprised by the Florida Panthers. Last year, I think everyone, me included, was surprised that they won, made it into the playoffs, and became the buzzsaw that they were. But it was just like this hectic, like cutthroat, wild style, which is super fun to watch, but just like not really sustainable to go all the way. This is still a very aggressive team, but we were talking last night through text going like there's something obviously different. And to me, it's defensive play and structure and discipline. They're still wildly aggressive. We've talked about this all year. I know I've talked about it all year. Ray Ferraro, who I think is one of the best analysts, doing the NHL this year said it feels to the New York Rangers, it feels like there's 7 Panthers on the ice at all time, especially 5-on-5. And that's just how they've done this all year. Bobrovsky has been good enough. The defensive structure has been light years ahead of what it was last year, but they haven't lost their identity. And the identity is that just breakneck aggressive play. And every player on the ice plays that way. They can do it because they can all skate. They do it because of the defensive structure, people filling in where they need when guys push on the puck and chase and forecheck. And it's impressive to watch. I can tell you that I don't know what changes. Like the Rangers are at MSG. Game 1, they're at home. They got Hedl back. They have what I believe is their ideal lineup. And for 2 periods, they got absolutely mauled by the Florida Panthers. Third period was different, and they started to do some things right. But in the end, it's 3-0, and it was never in jeopardy, really. They hit a bunch of posts. Yes, you can say that, but I'm talking pace of play and how the game felt. I watched every second of it. The Florida Panthers were in the driver's seat all night, and there was nothing that the New York Rangers could do.
Yeah, it certainly felt like that. It certainly looked like that. There were some moments in the third period that you just alluded to. There was like a couple scrambles there where Lafreniere put one off the bar, and then there was a shot maybe over the net. I think their first quality scoring chance came on a power play from Mika Zibanejad from the corner late in the second period. Yeah, this is how they play. This is how they played throughout the regular season. It's something that, it's why we liked them, right? We believed in last year. I didn't believe that they were going to go on a run last year. That shocked the hell out of me that they beat the Boston Bruins. Like, I was completely surprised, especially being down 3-1. And coming back and winning that series. But we liked them all year. That's why we jumped on them when they started to get healthy, after the first 6 weeks of the season, because they went through that long run, and Ekblad and Bennett and Kachuk and all these guys were banged up. And then they got healthy around November, and they've been, the best team in the league pretty much since that moment. And again, just looking at their 5-5 numbers here at the regular season, this is a team that just didn't give up anything. In shot attempts, they were number 2 at 5-5 per 60. And again, the flip side of that is they're allowing the third fewest shot attempts. Shots, same deal. Shots against at 5-5 per 60 inside the top 5. Shots for inside the top 5. We've always viewed them as an offensive juggernaut. Of course, when they had Huberdeau, but when they traded him, they were still an offensive juggernaut. But I don't think what people look at Florida and what we talk about is they have this perfect balance of speed, skill, and toughness and stability between the pipes, of course, with Bobrovsky, who's, everybody is, and myself included, to really rip this guy before last season. Look at that contract. Oh my goodness. Like, they're stuck with him. He looks awful. They're never going to win with him. Remember when they lost to the Lightning in the opening round? He let in like 5 or 6 goals. They were back and forth between him and Spencer Knight. But nobody really views this team as a strong defensive unit. They don't. Even like comments with my buddies in the chat last night, a couple of Rangers fans in the chat. Oh my goodness. If we're not going to be able to score on Borowski, we're screwed. It's like, you're not even getting any chances on this guy.
No,
forget scoring on him. You're not getting quality chances at 5-5, and they didn't against Carolina. They beat the Hurricanes because of their special teams. Their power play was awesome. Their penalty kill was great as well. They scored more shorthanded goals than they allowed power play goals in that second round. But no, when people look at the best defensive squads in the NHL, Eric, they don't talk about Florida. Florida allowed the fewest goals with Winnipeg. They were both tied for the fewest goals against. And everyone talks about Hellebuck, and sure, it should be Hellebuck, but nobody gives the love to Florida. And at 5-5, no team allowed fewer goals than them. Like, they're defensive juggernaut. Like, they're relentless with the forecheck, but they are great defensively. Like, Forsling's one of the best kept secrets in the NHL.
Yeah, 100%. And it said something I've completely forgot about this, because people in and around the NHL community, us included, talking about how good Forsling was. Forsling was waived by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Waived. Picked him up off waivers.
Waived.
Yeah, he bounced around a couple times. He's awesome.
It's insane. I feel like this is a thing that happens in the NHL all the time. you get this kind of like identity, and then people just latch onto it. Part of it, and I'm not saying, I'm not going to point anybody out, is lazy NHL analysis from the big boys on TV. Like, Florida is an aggressive team, but they're not wild like they were last year. This is a completely different defensive structure, a completely different way of playing. When they don't have the puck, they are pressuring the puck, but they're not wild like they were last year. Last year, it was just chaos, right? Which was awesome to watch, but it's just not sustainable. And the Florida Panthers could very easily win the Stanley Cup if they play like they did in Game 1 against the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, I expect them to beat the Rangers, but I do agree with this latest comment from Szymanski. It's too early, and I'm not saying that you're saying this. It's too early to say it's over. It's one game.
No, for sure.
We saw Dallas be down 2-0 at home against the Vegas Golden Knights and come back. Like, these things can happen. The Rangers are solid, but I do believe that Florida's a better 5-5 team, and that's why I went with Florida in this series. And we'll see how it does play out, but they're going to need to generate some offense at 5-5. So just for an example of last night, before we move on from this game, maybe just a quick little tee up for Game 2. The shot attempts at 5-5 were 55-47. Like, not a lot of attempts. And I think this Dallas and Edmonton series will be a little bit more wide open, and there'll be a little bit more offense. But this series, I think what we saw last night is probably got what we're going to see moving forward in terms of like tight checking, not a lot of wide open, quality chances. The Rangers are going to have to generate their offense from the power play, because last night they had 15 shots at 5-5. 15 shots. They had 5 in each period. And it's not like Florida had a ton, but they had 24 to those 15. They had 23 scoring chances to 18. They had the edge in high danger chances. They had the edge in, of course, they scored 2 goals at 5-5, and the expected goal rate, they had the edge there as well. When you look at all strengths, it's a touch more even because the Rangers power play, again, it's pretty solid. But the 5-5 play in favor of Florida, it's been in favor of the opposing team really throughout the playoffs against the Rangers. Even the Capitals had some moments against the Rangers at 5-5. Out of all the teams in the playoffs, the Rangers were actually one of the worst 5-5 teams in the NHL. And it's not to take away with what they've done this season. Igor and Quick played really good. Their best 5-5 line is Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin, and it's not even particularly close. Zibanejad has been quiet for most of the season at 5-5, and especially in these playoffs. So they're going to need those other guys to step up and generate some sort of offense. It can't just be on the power play. But some numbers to touch on for you guys moving forward. We won't have a show tomorrow, but I think we did pretty good yesterday. We had some Mean Streets episode with some props. We had Sam Reinhart for 4 shots. We had to sweat that one out. He did end up with 4 shots. We had Vincent Trocheck for 3 shots. We had a 4-leg shot prop parlay with Verhaeghe, Trocheck, Chris Kreider, who got there late, and so the big boys, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Kreider, and Trocheck. So that's something I would probably do moving forward as well. For tomorrow, Trocheck's at a similar price, -150 for 3 shots. Reinhardt's at a similar price, -130 for 4 shots. And Verhaeghe's at a similar price at -114 for 4 shots. Like, those would be the guys that wouldn't get carried away too much with any other shot props. But last night, Carter Verhaeghe had 9 attempts at 5-5, which led all skaters. Wasn't even close. 9 attempts at 5-5. He had 5 shots. He had 7 scoring chances. Next up, Sam Bennett, our guy. I might have to jump on him. I got a little bit of a future for him to have 2 shots in every game of this series at 9-1 at BetMGM. We have a couple fun futures in this Dallas Edmonton series I want to share with you guys in a bit. But Bennett last night looked like the old Sam Bennett. I mean, he's been great anyways, throwing his body around, of course. But he had 5 attempts at 5-5, 4 shots. He had 7 attempts total and 5 shots overall in the game. Carter Verhaeghe had 11 attempts at all strengths and 6 shots. And then our guy, Sam Reinhart, finishes with 4 attempts, 3 shots at 5-5, 5 attempts overall and 4 shots. But a lot of the Panthers, putting pucks towards the goal, all the big boys had at least 4 attempts at 5-5, Verhaeghe, Bennett, Reinhart, and Barkov. And then you go over to the Rangers, and it's just like, nobody had more than 2 shots. Lafreniere, Panarin, and Trocheck, again, that line for the Rangers, the best 5-5 line they have. They all had 2 shots on goal and at least 3 shot attempts at 5-5. Lafreniere led the way with 5 attempts. Panarin also had 5 attempts. And at all strengths, Panarin and Mika Zibanejad 7 attempts. Like, again, that's the difference. Mika Zibanejad, where are you at 5-5? 0 shots, 1 attempt.
Invisible.
You get to the power play, and that's where the guy gets all the attempts. I mean, he's got 7 attempts and 2 shots overall when you include the power play for him. So, yeah, we'll see moving forward. I'll probably still have a lean to Florida. It's really tough for me to bet against them. But if there's a game, where we'll see some pushback, a hot start, maybe it is game 2 at MSG, a little bit more urgency, some adjustments from Laviolette and company to get things going. But we'll see how this does play out. Stuart Skinner over saves. I don't know, dude. I don't know if I can trust any over saves on Skinner. It makes me nervous, man. I don't know. Less than 2 or 3 goals early, you get the yank. We get Pickard in there. I just don't I don't like betting saves. That's part of it, because one time I did it earlier in the playoffs. Like, I was talking about Swayman and Igor. It's like Swayman and Igor. Absolutely scared. I was like, Swayman. He's gonna see so much rubber. 30 saves tonight. Dude gets yanked because Florida's all over him. But I don't know. I like the call. Welcome in, Dusty. I mean, the call's okay, but I see where your head's at. Let's go Oilers, Dusty says. Okay, tonight, let's switch gears. I got some fun little long shots and some ones that I actually like, and some long shots futures I want to share with you guys. But let's talk about game 1 overall in general. Hintz skated yesterday, not with the team. Pete DeBoer said he had a pretty intense skate, so that does sound like a good thing that we'll see him at some point. He's considered day-to-day. I'm not sure if he'll suit up tonight. And then Jake Ottinger didn't practice yesterday due to an illness, but all signs point to him starting tonight. So Edmonton finds a way down. Once they won game 6, it kind of felt like they were going to go into Vancouver and win, especially when Brock Besser was ruled out with the blood clot, and Shelovs can only do so much, but, third string goalie in there. But they didn't make their fan base too comfortable, even up 3-0. Vancouver came back 3-2 and almost tied it, man. But here we are, Western Conference Finals, Stars again in the Western Conference Finals. How do you see this one playing out tonight, and who do you like to win the series?
I think the Vancouver series for Edmonton is going to do them a lot of good. And it's the age-old saying of you got to learn to lose before you can win. This is most of the players on the Vancouver Canucks have never played this far in the playoffs. How long has it been since Vancouver was even considered a decent team until this year? So,
when they played the Bruins in the finals, that was the Sedin boys. That was years ago.
Right. Yeah. The Vancouver City almost burned down. So that's a long time ago. Edmonton has been in this position and has been eliminated several times over the last 4 to 5 years. McDavid didn't show up a whole lot, not how you would expect him to show up in this series. Dusty talked about in the chat here about Myers, Zadorov, and Soucy hanging off him. I don't think it's going to get change in this series because those guys are all big, but none of them can skate like Heiskanen, Harley, and even Chris Tanev, who I think might be the most underrated defenseman in the entire league. He's good at everything. He can't skate like Heiskanen, but his positioning, his shot blocking, his willingness to do almost anything to keep people to the outside and block shots is admirable, man. I love watching Chris Tanev play. The forwards, I think if Hintz plays, Hintz can wheel with McDavid. I think he'll follow him all over the ice. I think they'll take that matchup. I'm not saying Hintz is McDavid, but
he's a good defensive player. Even though he's not doing anything offensively, he's a great defensive forward.
He's an unbelievable player. And to me, he's the new Sasha Barkov, right? Like, yes, diehards know who he is, but no one is really talking about Rupe Hintz. He's a top 10, top 15 player in the league. He's an unbelievable hockey player. Obviously banged up, obviously not at 100%, but there's probably not a player left that's not. So that's just the reality of it. The depth of the Dallas Stars is what is going to be scary for Edmonton. Edmonton does not have that. But what I'll say about Edmonton is some players, unnamed players, showed up when McDavid wasn't. Holloway had a very good series. McLeod had not points wise, but was pressuring, was forechecking, using his speed. They had some guys. I would say also Evander Kane has been very noticeable all playoffs when he was mostly invisible for most of the year. So
Yeah.
Knobloch is right now is the puppet master, pulling Skinner, playing Pickard, Skinner back in, sitting Corey Perry. I mean, what coach is brave enough that a guy, former
right
Hart winner, like it's the right call, 100% the right call, but who has the courage to do that? Knobloch is doing everything right. I think that this is going to be a great series, but in the end, Big D. I got Big D winning this. And I know Canadian people are going to be upset, and you're Canadian, and how do you
Yeah.
Look at guys,
whatever.
Everyone's like talking about Vancouver. There's two Canadian players on the Vancouver Canucks. I know we're not talking about Vancouver, they're eliminated, but everybody's talking about, the Canadian series and Canadian team. Canadians play on all teams. There's probably I don't know, I'm not going to do the counting right now, but I bet you there's just as many Canadians on the Dallas Stars as there are Canadians on the Edmonton Oilers. I don't care about that. Plus, I don't live in Canada anymore. Nashville's my home. I just got my American passport. I'm a traitor, basically, is what I'm saying. And I've been cheering for Dallas all year and not changing streams now.
I'll tell you who is Canadian and the player that we care about the most, the player that I care about the most, and you guys are sick of me talking about him, is Wyatt Johnston. This guy's from Toronto. He's Canadian. Jamie Benn's Canadian. Tyler Seguin's Canadian. But I want to give some love to Wyatt Johnston. I'll give some love to him in a second. But this comment here, I mean, Dusty, you're not wrong. Like, those are big body defensemen, especially Myers and Zadorov. But this is why we like Dallas so much in this show, not just because they're so deep. The minute that they signed Matt Duchene was the minute I jumped over to ftnfantasy.com and put my feature in. Immediately, I said, wow, they're going to get Duchene on the third line. It's going to rejuvenate Tyler Seguin, check. It's going to make Mason Marchment relevant, check, because he was awful in his first year in Dallas, but it's hard to blame him considering his line mates. You get a guy like Matt Duchene in the middle of the ice for your third line. Wyatt Johnston was primed for a breakout. We called that here on the show. He broke out, rejuvenated Jamie Benn last year, carried over to this year. And then we already knew that Rupe Hinson and Jason Robertson were fantastic. The one guy that's taken a big step back is Joe Pavelski. He does look extremely slow on the ice, but he still has the smarts, and he's great on the power play with his stick and decent in his own end defensively. But Miro Heiskanen, I mean, when the Stars made the Stanley Cup Finals a couple years ago, that was his coming out party. Like, this guy was drafted in the same draft as Cale Makar. Like, everyone talks about Cale Makar, but Heiskanen was a top pick as well. And this guy is an absolute beast on the blue line. He plays all the time. He's one of the best skaters in the NHL. And Chris Tanev, I think, is one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL, if not the best. And that is not a hot take. That is the truth. Like, when they got Duchene, boom, awesome. Love it. Love the outlook. When they got Tanev at the deadline, that solidified it for me, because this is a guy, you see how he played against McKinnon? I mean, he was all over McKinnon. His stick is active. He was taking pucks away from McKinnon with his stick nonstop, doing it over and over. Same thing with Eichel. Like, he did a fantastic job on both of those guys. He blocks everything. He had a game with like 9 blocks against the Avs the other night. Like, he is an absolute beast. And don't be surprised, man, if this guy signs some sort of like contract in the offseason with a team, it's like 6-7 million. And it may be like, whoa, what the hell is that? A $6 million contract for Chris Tanev? But I'm telling you, this guy is a beast. And it came up in the chat. I think it was from it wasn't from Szymanski. It was from another former DBC. He's always in here. I think it was Adam. Man, I'm forgetting his last name. Red Camp. Yeah, Mike, our guy, Red Camp, super sharp guy. He said Dallas reminds him of Vegas from last year, and it's a good take. Those two teams went to the Western Conference Finals last year. They're both deep. And they both just have monsters on the blue line, right? That block a lot of shots. Lindell, too. Great defensively. Blocks a lot of shots. So they have a lot of those big bodies. And you need to have those. Just look at the previous Stanley Cup winners. There's a lot of teams that have like those 6'2", 6'4" defensemen that are just getting in the way and blocking everything. So this should be a really good series. I think the Stars will win in 6, maybe 7. I just think that they're deeper. I think that they're better in goal, for one, with Jake Ottinger. Looks like the Jake Ottinger we expected to see. I like their blue line a touch more. I've not taken anything away from Ekholm's been awesome. Nurse has had some really good moments as well, and Bouchard's a beast on the point. And of course, we know that the top 6 is loaded, but I think where the series will be won is that bottom six, and Dallas was perfectly fine rolling out Faxa and others on the fourth line against Nathan McKinnon, against Jack Eichel. You know what I mean? Like Pete DeBoer just rolls these four lines, and that's over the course of a series that can really eat you up. And I think it's the bottom six in Dallas and the depth on the blue line that will get the better of Edmonton and the goaltending, quite frankly. For tonight, before we get into some serious stuff, you guys know I'm going to talk about Wyatt Johnston again. Just been super impressed. He just continues to get better and better with each game. Just turned 21 last week, right? We joke all the time about him not being able to buy a drink at Applebee's and all this stuff. He hasn't even grown into his man body yet. He's just a child, but he's minus 135 at DraftKings for a point. He's minus 130 at DraftKings for 3 shots. He's got 7 goals and 11 points in 13 games here. He's gotten more power play time. He's moved up to the top power play with Hintz out. I don't think Hintz is going to play. Even if Hintz does play, I'm still going to like both of these props, but I'll like him a whole lot more if Hintz doesn't suit up, because what I've noticed Wyatt Johnston on that top power play is he's kind of like Draisaitl on the opposite side of the ice for that one-timer. They kind of put him there down low for that shot. They got Heiskanen and Robertson, playing pitch and catch. Got the cross ice there. Ben's in front of the net, and Pavelski's kind of in front of the net as well. But Wyatt Johnston's a shooter on that power play. He leads all skaters at 5-5 in these playoffs. He leads all skaters to 78 shot attempts, and he's first in expected goals. Same thing last year. Hintz took all the headlines for all the points he racked up, but Wyatt Johnston was first on the team in expected goals. And at all strengths, nobody has more shot attempts than him at 99, and nobody has more scoring chances than him at 61. Think about that. Just a 21-year-old kid, man. 3 games against the Oilers this season. He had 3 points. He had 12 shots on goal. He had 3 shots in every game. So in on Wyatt Johnston for the point, in on Wyatt Johnston for the shots. I know you guys are sick of me talking about that, but that's what we're doing here. We're leading with Wyatt Johnston. Other things that I have, Leon Draisaitl for 3 shots tonight. I usually talk about
animal.
Yeah, he cooled off in a couple games, but he led the series in points. He was awesome against the Canucks. He has been an animal after, I don't know, an injury popped up. You said it, everybody's hurt, but an injury popped up, and there were questions if he would even be ready to go for game 1 against Vancouver, and he was. So what I have in here. So Johnson
won the Conn Smythe last year with 1 leg.
Yeah.
If
Johnson
he would have won the Stanley Cup, he could have won it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He was fantastic.
One leg.
One
couldn't
leg.
skate. Couldn't move.
Draisaitl 3 shots minus 150. I got Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin for 2 shots each at Bet365 at plus 105. Bouchard and Hyman for a point each in a same game parlay at plus 118 over at FanDuel. So those are the props I'm thinking about right now. Like, there's a lot of juice out there, but Sagan's a guy. Seguin and Benn are guys that I think will get 2 shots. We'll see how the lines shape out. I want to see if Hintz is playing. It shouldn't matter with Stankoven. I know Stankoven was on that top line for a little bit, but I think they will roll with Johnson, Benn, and Stankoven. So Stankoven is interesting to me for 2 shots or a point. You can get him at plus money. Like, really like that line. Like, Jamie Benn is near even money for a point.
Stankoven's unreal too, right? Like,
he's also like energy, man. That kid is just full go.
Energy, and he's little and just does not care. He's not a big guy, and he is fearless, man. He gets knocked around. He's digging for every puck. I love Logan Stankoven, man. Love him.
Yeah, so take a look at that line. So I'd say before we throw over to you for the goal scorers, Johnson point, Johnson shots, stick with Dallas. Benn and Seguin for 2 shots, maybe a point for, Stankoven or Benn. That'll be it for me. Jason Robertson's been an assist man in the playoffs, and Heiskanen has been very active. So, you can consider him for a point or for 2 shots as well. And on the Edmonton side, we'll go Draisaitl 3 shots. I think, I'd like to tease down if I can Hyman to 3 shots. Maybe you could do Hyman and Draisaitl 3 shots, Bouchard 2, and Kane 2. Because Kane has been good, and I think he's the X factor. Like, they need him to continue to be this good, because it can't just be Draisaitl and McDavid and Hyman. It's got to be others, and Kane has got to step up, and he's had a great playoff. He's shooting the puck a lot as well. So that's another guy that I would maybe tease down to 2 shots. Who do you got for some goal scorers tonight?
Yeah, on the Edmonton side, I'm going Leon Draisaitl, and we're in lockstep. I'm going to Vander Kane. I know, like, statistically, he's not like shooting the lights out, but he's been very, very noticeable. They're going to want him on the ice. I think they're going to try it. They're going to want to flip it in Heiskanen's corner and smash him. Like we've seen teams try to do this, but I think Evander Kane, very good skater, big body, strong dude, great offensive touch as well. And he might be other than Draisaitl, he might have been their most consistent player so far in the playoffs, which is great to see for Edmonton. And Wyatt Johnson, I'm not until he proves us wrong, I'm not taking him off the list. He's first of all, if you're betting on goal scorers, the best person to bet on is him. He has the most expected goals, like Chris just said. And he's been good for 2 years, right? He's just been an unbelievable player. It's scary to think about how good he's going to get. Yeah. He's a child. Yeah. And it's still, I know he's 21 now and can buy a beer.
His smarts.
He's new.
It's his smarts too. Like
it is. Yeah.
For a head coach to play this guy and on, power play, penalty kill, move up the lineup, trust him in all situations. Key face-offs, I noticed as well when Hintz was out of the lineup. Like he's just, he's only going to grow as a player. So I mean, it's hard to ignore, especially if you're looking for a goal scorer tonight, right? The attempts. These are the guys that, I mean, Draisaitl, Hyman, Kane, Johnson. Those are the guys that are just putting pucks towards the goal. They're all shot first guys. I would kind of include Ben and Sagan as secondary guys. Both of those guys have been really good in the playoffs as well. And they're shooters on the power play. I couldn't agree more with this comment from Szymanski as well. Why it's spot in the second unit is so confusing. It just doesn't belong there. I'd honestly like Pavelski just to go away and have him on there. But I understand he's so good with his stick and tips and things like that and around the net front. So and Szymanski had what did you have, Adam, for Kane in the last series for shots? It was like 80-1 to lead the series in shots or something like that. It's a pretty good lock shot for a guy who loves to shoot the puck there. And I think he may have got limited over at BetMGM for a little wager he made on that. It was like, whoa. Like books will put out this crazy, like they put out the Florida Panthers. It was like plus money for them to have more goals against the Boston Bruins last round, but yet they were massive favorites to win the series. We all thought it was a mistake, but we all bet it, and then they just take it off. Like, whoa, we put it out there for you, but when you bet it, we don't like you to bet it, so we got to take it off or limit you. But anyways, I did some digging. For some futures. So on the way out, we'll share some of these. And I went for all books. It took me like over an hour last night. I had like 50 tabs open. I had Bet365, I had ESPN, I had FanDuel, I had DraftKings.
I don't have that problem. That's the only thing good about here. It takes me a couple minutes to go through the things that are available to me. Yeah,
and all these books are really not even available to me on the East Coast. So I just wanted to give the best number to the FTN subs, and everyone is super friendly and just like, for example, I gave 365 like plus 105 for Hyman and Bouchard for a point, and then they jump in and they say, hey, it's plus 118 over at FanDuel, for example. So everyone's awesome. It's a great community. So this is what I came up with for some series props that I like. So Wyatt Johnson, 2 shots on goal in every game, plus 230 over at BetMGM. It's a full unit play for me. And we also have from the other series, Trocheck 2+ shots, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Bennett. We're trying to have some fun with some of these. Leon Draisaitl, 2+ shots in every game, plus 230 over at BetMGM. Zach Hyman, a little bit of juice on this one, but if I'm going to pick one of the 3, it probably will be Zach Hyman. He shoots from everywhere. He's not afraid to dump it in on net from the blue line, from the corner, the wraparounds. He parks himself right in front of the net for the Draisaitl rebounds, the Draisaitl cross-ice pass. McDavid doesn't love to shoot on the power play. All those things, right? Deflections from Bouchard from the point. So it's minus 105 over at BetMGM. Hyman, 2 shots in every game. We got Hyman, Draisaitl, Johnson, each of these guys to have 2 goals in the series. I expect this to go 6 or 7. So we're going to take all these guys to have 2 goals at any point in the series at plus 114 over at FanDuel. Then we're getting into some longer shots here. Tyler Seguin, 2 shots in every game at plus 575 at BetMGM. Jamie Benn, 2 shots in every game at 13-1 at BetMGM. It's like a 0.25 unit for me. So it's a little bit of a longer shot, less wager on it. Zach Hyman, 3 shots in every game at plus 575 at BetMGM, 0.5 units. We got Wyatt Johnson for 3 shots in every game at 18-1 at BetMGM. And then Leon Draisaitl for 3 shots in every game at 18-1 at 0.25 units again. I think that Edmonton will have a tougher time putting pucks towards the goal, given Dallas's defense and their shot blocking prowess. But it just takes one or two power plays for the Edmonton Oilers to rack up a couple shots. These are our goal series props. Ben, 2 goals in the series at plus 100. Sagan, 2 goals in the series at minus 110. Duchesne at 2 goals in the series at plus 150. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 2 goals in the series at plus 130. Over at Bet365, they also have point props for the series. I think the best one I saw was Wyatt Johnson at 5.5 at minus 110. Others are at 6.5. I think McDavid's at 9.5. Draisaitl's at 9.5. This is too high for me. But Wyatt Johnson at 5.5, and I think Ben is there at 4.5, which is not bad as well. I didn't include others to share with you guys as banners if you're watching live, but I also have Tyler Seguin for 3 shots in every game at 80-1. That's like 0.15 units for me. Wyatt Johnson for a point in every game at 25-1. That's again 0.15 units. How about this one? Wyatt Johnson for a goal in every game, 100-1. I'm talking like put a buck on it. Whatever.
Right.
Maybe it's a sweep. Maybe it's a sweep and he scores a goal in every game. Who knows? That could happen. And Matt Duchesne to lead the series in goals. I just thought this was a really good number. Most books had 15, 20-1. Matt Duchesne at DraftKings is 40-1 to lead the series in goals. Of course, that's a really deep long shot. That's a 0.10 unit bet. $5, a buck, just something very small. There's a lot of firepower in this series with McDavid and Draisaitl, but who knows? Duchesne at 40-1. And most points in the series, Wyatt Johnson at 20-1. Now, McDavid and Draisaitl are 2-1, 3-1. You're not really getting any value with those bets. So Wyatt Johnson at 20-1 at Bet365, again, 0.15 units. Who would you pick to, who'd you pick to lead the series in goals? Would you go Draisaitl?
I think right now I would probably go Draisaitl, but Wyatt Johnson would be right there. I mean, the analytics back that up. The eye test backs that up. Plus, we've been talking about how awesome this guy is for, it feels like, the entire year. But I would say Draisaitl. I mean, he's just a superstar player, and he seems to get even better in the playoffs, which is terrifying. I didn't want to say, I forgot to say, I got Jason Robertson to score. He's looked awesome.
Nice.
More off of the puck than on with the puck. I mean, he's been last year scored a ton of goals. Obviously, he didn't score as many this year, but he's been really important for them off the puck, forechecking, using his big frame and laying hits and doing all these other dirty things that allow Dallas to be successful. But I think he's on the board here with a goal.
Love it. For tomorrow, take a look at Verhaeghe, Reinhart, and Bennett. And I'd say Trocheck. Again, those would be the 4. And Lafreniere has been really noticeable. I know we talked about him last week. He did, you mentioned he hit the bar. He had a couple shots. He has been very noticeable for the Rangers. And again, that line of 5-5 has been pretty solid. We're going to get out of here. Any final words? We'll probably regroup maybe next week or the week after. Maybe we'll do one more here throughout the Western Conference, Eastern Conference Finals. And we'll certainly have an episode to tee up the Stanley Cup Finals as well. But let's get some predictions out of you. Who do you think gets to the Stanley Cup Finals? Who are we talking about in the finals?
I think it's going to be Florida and Dallas. That's who I think it'll happen. I think I would prefer it to be Dallas and New York. That's, I think, how I have it set in my what I think was going to happen bracket. I'd have to look at that. But I'm a winner regardless, guys, because I've got all 4 teams to win the Stanley Cup. So
just sit back, hands behind the head, and watch the money pile.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. There's 4 awesome teams left. It's been the playoffs have been great. There's been game 7s. There's been sweeps. There's been unexpected players. There's, guys out, great goaltending. It's just been really, really compelling this year. And I think the semifinals, this is maybe the most compelling semifinals that we've had in a while.
Yeah, it should be good. I hope that we see like 2 game 7s.
I'd love that.
Sweat job.
Because this is when I start to get sad. Like I'm kind of getting tired of hockey, and at the same time, I know the minute that there isn't hockey, I'll be sad again, and I'll have to break out the 71 Summit Series and rewatch it again.
Hey, Leafs got Berube. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great get for them. No nonsense. You always hear players in St. Louis saying he's tough, but he's fair, and he says this is what's expected. And if you do what's expected, he rewards you. And I mean, they needed a different, voice in the room. I think Sheldon Keefe is a good hockey coach. Would it surprise me if New Jersey, find a goaltender and go a deep run into playoffs? Absolutely not. But yeah, I think Berube is a really good choice for the Maple Leafs. And let's see what happens. I think they're well aware that they need to shake things up. The current team, as it's structured, can't win. Plain and simple. That's proven. Tons of skill. Like some big bodies on the point. Okay goaltending, but the goaltending's got to be sorted out one way or the other. Whether it will or not, I don't know. They're in a very tough position, but one of the four has got to go to make room for some better defense. Lots of free agents left in the defensive market. The entire Carolina Hurricanes are up, I think. So that's interesting. I think Berube is a great choice for them.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe you'll have to trade in your Mitch Marner Leafs jersey for a Mitch Marner Predators jersey. I don't know. That's the hot rumor. I saw your Preds made a trade. They sent Ryan McDonagh to Tampa Bay. They sent Ryan McDonagh to Tampa Bay, freed up a little bit of cap space. I think they're going to be aggressive getting a forward. And something that we've talked a lot about is UC Saros' contract coming to an end and Askarov waiting in the wings. So I think if that was a 1-for-1 trade, I would consider that a loss for Toronto, even though I do feel like they need to move on from Mitch Marner. And it's no disrespect to UC Saros, but goalies are voodoo, man. And I think you can get more from Mitch Marner than a goalie, but we'll see how it does play out. I think it's going to be a wild offseason, especially in Toronto. I think they're actually finally going to make some moves, but it's tough because a lot of those stars have no trade clauses, right? So it's tough to move on from them. But I think that there needs to be some sort of shakeup. And I don't want to take too many shots at Sheldon Keefe, but man, I'm actually surprised that he got a job as quick as he did with New Jersey, because he seems like a good coach, but anybody could have coached the Toronto Maple Leafs to the playoffs. Like he was, to me, I saw a guy in Keefe that got outcoached in just about every playoff series that he took part in behind the bench, including the one against the Habs, where what sticks out to me on the way out was that he was comfortable. He was comfortable playing Matthews and Marner against Matthews and Marner against Philip Deneau. He was comfortable with that matchup. He even said it. Reporters asked him, are you trying to get away from Philip Deneau at all? He's like, no, I'm comfortable with that matchup. And I get it. You have trust in your big boys. But when the Habs played the Lightning later on in the playoffs, John Cooper was not comfortable with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov against Philip Deneau. He actually would take them off. I saw it several times. Had the last change, he would take them. I saw one time Point and Kucherov on the ice. Deneau came on. He took them off. And I was like, wow. Like, that's Kucherov and Point. That's a coach that just gets it. And
at that point, Philip Deneau was consensus from the players, the best defensive center in the league.
He shut down everyone throughout the entire playoffs, basically. And then LA gave him that crazy contract. So, yeah, just those little things. And I'm sure he's learned a thing or two along the way. And there isn't going to be as much pressure in New Jersey. And he's set up to have some success. There's some really nice players on the Devils. They need a goalie. So he's going to be in the same situation. But I'm sure New Jersey will be one of those aggressive teams getting a goalie as well. But I just thought it was interesting. Like, he didn't last too long on the open market for a guy that really hasn't shown us a whole lot behind the bench, but we'll see what does happen. And Lindy Ruff back in Buffalo is strange. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Of course, we could talk hockey all day, but we'll break here and we'll hit you guys up in a few days. Good luck with your picks tonight. Your picks moving forward. Enjoy the two series. It should be fantastic. We'll hit you guys up soon. Thanks for all the support. We appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you later. Cheers.